Nostrallint is an arcade-like game in which you repeatedly play rounds and try to beat your high score by controlling a mage and blasting away your opponents. What is special about Nostrallint is that the timing of the mage's attack is tied to the game's music, which is completely generated by a Concord model. And this is what I'm going to showcase today. Concord will generate new music for the game each time a new round is started, which I can quickly demonstrate by starting a couple of rounds. Additionally, whenever you cast your spell, a stinger is generated using some strings and also an impact sound that will accompany the background melody and fit into the harmonic progression of it. We can take another listen to this, as we have seen at the start of this showcase. It gives the attack some more impact. So how does this work? Well, the sound itself is generated by this very small meta sound that relies on the Concord tracker module player, which loads a tracker module that I have created in a music tracker application and actually imported into the engine. We can take a quick look at this module, which lives right here. And we can see that we have instrument slots for the left channel of a snare drum, for example, or the left channel of a flute. And we have a bunch of instruments here also for strings and the impact sound, for example. We generate pattern data for this tracker module to play back using a Concord model. The main Concord model that controls the generated pattern is this one. We can see we have outputs for all of our musical elements in here. And we usually just output musical notes, but sometimes we also output indices for instruments that are loaded in our module, so we can switch to an instrument that has some accented samples included. The idea behind this Concord model is that we pass in a progression and a melody that was generated using a model that was trained on a very small dataset to give the game its unique style of music. Let's check out the model that actually generates the progression and melodies. We can see here we have the Z box, which contains random variables that are hidden in our hidden Markov model. If you're unfamiliar with this, it's a statistical model that can be trained on data that can very efficiently generate new samples once it has learned how the internal states correspond to the observed ones. For example, in our progression box, we see we have 14 different states corresponding to scale degrees within our scale, and those states will be set for each of our bars and for all of the quarter notes inside of these bars. And we can generate new progressions in this model, which actually has our learned parameters loaded in. So these have been learned by a machine learning algorithm that can be run entirely within the Unreal Engine under the Learner tab in a Concord model. And it uses these emission nodes right here to connect our hidden state with our observed state, and then we can also specify our dataset directory, in which we have just a couple of melodies that have been hand designed by me in this case. So using these progression and melody data that we receive from our machine learning model, we can feed those into some transformers that actually turn these abstract scale degrees into MIDI note numbers that we can then play back using our meta sound. For example, if we take a look into the guitar model, we can see it simply plays an arpeggiated sequence using scale degree offsets of 0, 4, and 7 repeatedly, and then outputting these to our notes. I won't go into further detail, as this is just a showcase demonstrating how Concord can be used to generate an infinite number of musical backgrounds for your game that also interactively adapt whenever a spell is cast, using simple blueprint game scripting. Thank you for watching, and have a good one of whatever you're having.